Professional wrestling. That sport that tells you that every problem can be solved by fighting inside a ring surrounded by ropes in front of thousands of people. It's the American dream, really. And with any good sport, there's video game adaptations. And while some have been downright terrible, I'm looking at you, WCW Backstage Assault. There have been some true gems that have been able to stand the test of time. In fact, most of the time, the combination of wrestling and video games just makes for the most ridiculous and over-the-top fun one can have gaming. Some may mock it, but I want you to tell me why your little dragon shows are better than watching real athletes go through over-the-top scenarios with the goal of carrying leather belts. I mean, nothing's better than that. It's really Anyway, I'm Mike from Sports Gamers Online, and these are the 10 best wrestling games of all time.
Sports Gamers Online is the #1 source for the sports gamer.
At number 10, we kick things off with WWE 2K14. The last WWE game before the transition to the PS4 and Xbox One, WWE 2K14 was as close to perfection as a 2K wrestling game could get. WWE 2K14 had the deepest creation suite ever, with the ability to create finishers, entrance videos, custom championships, shows, and more. The Universe mode became the best it had ever been, allowing more customization than ever before, and the WrestleMania Showcase allowed fans to relive the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. There was even the popular Streak mode before The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak was broken that let you attempt to conquer The Undertaker's streak on your own. Add in that the gameplay was smoother and easier to control than ever on those systems, and you have what is still to this day the best WWE 2K game ever made. At number 9, we have WWE Smackdown Shut Your Mouth. What made this game as great as it wasn't the gameplay or the size of the roster, but it was the career mode. Featuring the newly implemented brand extension between Raw and SmackDown, players were able to define their career by becoming dominant on the show of their choice. The option was also open to ultimately switch shows to prove just how good you really were. Shut Your Mouth also introduced fans to moving freely around the arena and fighting anywhere you could possibly get to. You had the ability to kick off Brock Lesnar's next big thing run, deal with the NWO running rampant throughout the roster, and even start the career of Randy Orton. It made for hours of fun even with the severely slow load times of the PS2. At number 8, we have WWE Day of Reckoning 2. Now, before the WWE 2K series and previously the SmackDown vs. Raw series became the norm on every platform that got a WWE video game, THQ and the WWE put out different titles depending on the platform. For the Nintendo GameCube, that was the Day of Reckoning series. While the PS2 was the home of the superior games, the GameCube did receive arguably one of the better games of the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox generation. Day of Reckoning 2 built upon what its predecessor Day of Reckoning had by continuing the storyline in its career mode from the first game and offering players better graphics, a larger roster, and one of the smoothest grappling systems you'll ever find in a wrestling game. At number 7, we have WWE AllStars. AllStars may be one of the most divisive games on this list solely because of the type of game it tried to be. It was a step away from the serious games at the time and brought back that true arcade feeling of old. The game was designed to be an over-the-top representation of pro wrestling, and it worked like a charm. Every single match was fun, and it felt like a spin-off fighting game that everyone could pick up and play, as opposed to a game with a steep learning curve. The game featured a great mix of current day and past wrestlers, along the likes of John Cena, Randy Orton, Randy Savage, and Roddy Piper. It didn't have the best modes in the world, but the Fantasy Warfare mode, which took superstars from the past and present and imagined what it would be like if they had a storyline against each other, is definitely worth picking this game up and giving it a shot. Coming in at number 6, we have what's likely to be the least known game on this list, but it's by far one of the best, and that's the Total Extreme Wrestling franchise. TEW is a text-based title along the lines of Out of the Park Baseball and Franchise Hockey Manager that allows players to take control as a booker, president, or whatever title you can think of at your very own wrestling promotion. The game comes preloaded with generic federations and rosters, but there are numerous mods that feature the real-life companies and wrestlers of the world. It's a game that allows you to live out a wrestling fan's dream, running your own promotion. You can take a small, no-name promotion from the Northeast and build it towards competing with the big dogs of the world like the WWE or New Japan Pro Wrestling. Or, if you so choose, you can even take control of the top promotion in the industry and separate yourself from the competition even more. If you can think of it, you can do it in TEW. At number 5, we have Fire Pro Wrestling World. I know many were expecting to see Fire Pro Wrestling Returns on this list, but after its release in 2018, Fire Pro Wrestling World took over as the best of the Fire Pro series. If you're a fan of customization, you need to look no further than this game on PS4 and PC. Fire Pro Wrestling World let fans who were into creating a dream wrestling federation from scratch have that opportunity. From the rings to the wrestlers to even the referees, Fire Pro Wrestling World allows you to truly play God in a wrestling organization. And with the partnership of New Japan Pro Wrestling, you even got licensed fighters in the series for the very first time. To make the game even better, a management mode came around as DLC that allows you to create your own promotion and compete with other federations around the world for wrestling organization dominance. At number 4, we have Smackdown vs. Raw 2007. This installment of the SVR franchise was the first to not be a PlayStation exclusive, as it was also released on the Xbox 360. SVR 2007 introduced an energy bar that forced you to take breaks in order to keep up the pace in the action. It also was the first game in the series to fully introduce the idea of face versus heel dynamics into the gameplay. It allows you as a heel to not let go of a submission when the ref started counting, as well as use the ropes to get leverage on a pin. The game also expanded upon the series' career mode and GM mode, with more interesting storylines in the career and the ability to implement storylines into your shows in order to win that coveted GM of the Year award. Coming in at number 3 is WCW NWL Revenge. The last Aki engine-based WCW game to be made, Revenge was a follow-up to the wildly popular World Tour and featured more stable gameplay, improved graphics, a larger catalog of moves, and a much larger roster. Now, it wasn't as revolutionary to the gameplay as its predecessor, but it was a great game in a number of other aspects. It featured a larger roster than World Tour had, a championship mode, full wrestler entrances, more expansive multiplayer, and was the best third-party game on the N64 at the time. The game even integrated some of the biggest storylines from WCW for the prior year, such as the rise of the NWO and Goldberg's undefeated streak. Even the control system was easy to understand, and that was hard to do for games on the N64. At number 2, we have WWF No Mercy. Now, first things first, I know a lot of you will be upset that this isn't the number 1 game on the list, but just wait until we get there, we have good reason. WWF No Mercy brought in branching storylines, deep wrestler customization, and optimized an engine that many still tout as the best to ever be built for wrestling games. There were new match types like TLC and tables matches, and the roster was absolutely massive, including allowing you to play as any member of the McMahon family, and even announcers like Jim Ross. It was a perfectly paced game inside the ring, and could even be stated as the best multiplayer game on the N64 in the entire history of the console. Yeah, it's better than GoldenEye, and it's better than Mario Kart and Super Smash Bros. And there's a reason why to this day, nearly 20 years later, it still gets mods almost yearly. It's because No Mercy is that damn good. And at number 1, it's Smackdown Here Comes the Pain. Featuring a roster of nearly 70 playable characters, Here Comes the Pain allowed players to take anyone they wanted into the game's story mode. In the ring, the game felt better than any other wrestling game had up to that point, and even introduced matches like First Blood and the Elimination Chamber into the WWE video game realm. And what put it over the top as the best wrestling game of all time is the fact that the game was over the top itself. You could throw your opponent off the top of a building, even hitch a ride on a helicopter, and then perform a move off that helicopter onto your opponent. It was arguably one of the most ridiculous WWE games ever released, but that's what made it so special for players. And 16 years later, if you asked anybody that ever played Here Comes the Pain, they'll still tell you that it's one of the best experiences they've ever had in video games. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think is the best wrestling game of all time? Let us know in the comments section below, and be sure to subscribe to Sports Gamers Online and hit that bell to be notified whenever a new video goes live, and continue the discussion by following us on Twitter at SportsGamersOn and joining the official SGO forums at sportsgamersonline.com/forum.